You're fired. Another Trump advisor bites the dust. Trump receives a cold reception in California at the wall prototype inspection. The United Kingdom will expel 23 Russian diplomats, and millennials have their say on their favorite brands. Hello and welcome to today's edition of Mexico News Network's Breaking News Business. I'm your host, Elliot Bullman. Let's go straight into the information. In a strong move within his cabinet, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, dismissed his Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, this week and replaced him with Mike Pompeo, until then Director of the CIA. With the designation of Pompeo a hardline hawk instead of the more conciliatory Tillerson, the US President seems to have chosen a man who shares his ideas and who will allow him to advance in the path of disruptive diplomacy, against more traditional ways of doing foreign policy, as Roger Boyes pointed out in a recent article for the British newspaper The Times. In recent times, Trump began to pay more and more attention to the intelligent reports of Pompeo, especially those related to Kim Jong-un and the mafioso functioning of his state, over those of others of his collaborators. The president wants to know every weakness and every potential weakness of Kim Jong-un. But he also needs by his side someone who can make the connection between Iran and North Korea, the analyst explained, which arises from the fact that Trump believes that putting a limit on Tehran will strengthen his position to negotiate with Pyongyang. Nonetheless, Tillerson supported the nuclear agreement with Iran. And Pompeo, however, is as convinced of his danger as Trump and has called the agreement disastrous, which has led many in the international community to believe that the change in the cabinet has meant the death of the pact. With Pompeo, the administration's foreign policy will be led by an officer graduated from the military school of West Point, with service in the armed forces in Europe, who triumphed in law school, dominated politics in Congress, directed the CIA, and who agrees with the president, the analyst says. According to this publication, Pompeo is the ideal man to organize the meeting with Kim Jong-un because he deeply understands the dangers of appeasement with Iran. In related news, President Trump on Tuesday inspected 8 wall prototypes constructed in the desert south of San Diego as he fights to overcome opposition from Democrats and skepticism from some Republican lawmakers over the cost of a barrier that was a central promise of his presidential campaign. When asked whether he would veto a spending bill that would preserve grants to sanctuary cities or not fund the wall, Trump said he's looking at it. House and Senate negotiators are trying to wrap up work on a $1.2 trillion spending bill in order to get it passed by March the 23rd in order to avert another government shutdown. Lawmakers plan to include $1.6 billion in funding in fiscal 2018 for portions of a US-Mexico border wall, as requested by the Trump administration, Republican Senator John Boozman of Arkansas said on Monday. The amount is equal to administration's request to fund 3 sections of border wall. Trump's tour of the sample wall sections at Otay Mesa port of entry stirred plans for protests in a state where the project is deeply unpopular, as is the president. A Public Policy Institute of California poll released in January found that 73% of adults in the state opposed the wall, while just a quarter supported it. The state's Democratic governor, Jerry Brown, sent Trump a backhanded invitation on Monday, suggesting a change of itinerary to add a visit to a construction site for what he said is the nation's first true high-speed rail line. In California, we're focusing on bridges, not walls, Brown wrote. And moving on. The United Kingdom will expel 23 Russian diplomats, the largest number in the last 30 years, after Moscow failed to clarify why the ex-spy Sergei Skripal and his daughter Julia were poisoned with a Russian-made nerve agent, the Prime Minister Theresa May announced on Wednesday. In a statement to Parliament, the British chief executive considered that Russia has reacted with complete disregard to the seriousness of the incident that occurred on the 4th of March, despite the fact that the UK offered them an opportunity to provide an explanation. The incident occurred in Salisbury and represents an illegal use of force by the Russian state against the United Kingdom, according to Theresa May, who announced that her government will increase the number of checks on Russian citizens who come to the country. Also, the Prime Minister announced that London will freeze the assets of the Russian state wherever there's evidence that they could be used to threaten the life or property of citizens or residents in the United Kingdom. May also asked the National Security Council in a meeting held on Wednesday morning to agree on immediate measures to dismantle the Russian spy network in the UK, and has cancelled the invitation to the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov to this country. As part of this battery of measures adopted by its executive, no representative of the British royal family or dignitaries of the country will attend the Summer World Cup in Russia. The Prime Minister's announcement came after Moscow ignored the deadline set by the London government for explanations before midnight on Tuesday of how a Russian-made military nerve agent poisoned the 66-year-old ex-agent and his daughter, 33-year-old, who remains in critical condition. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said on Wednesday that his country has no connection with the poisoning of the spy and his daughter, and that accusations without evidence are unacceptable. In other news, YouTube ranked as the third most intimate brand amongst millennials, according to MBLM's Brand Intimacy 2018 report, which is the largest study of brands based on emotions. Brand intimacy is defined as a new paradigm that leverages and strengthens the emotional bonds between a person and a brand. Apple and Disney ranked as the first and second most intimate brands for millennials. Comparatively, in MBLM's 2017 report, Disney placed first, followed by Amazon and Netflix. The other brands that round out the top 10 are Target, Amazon, Nintendo, Google, Xbox, Netflix, and Whole Foods. The age group of 18 to 24-year-olds had a slightly different mix of top companies. The top 10 for the group are Apple, Amazon, YouTube, PlayStation, Starbucks, Nintendo, Google, Netflix, Coca-Cola, and Walmart. The Brand Intimacy 2018 report contains the most comprehensive rankings of brands based on emotions, analyzing the responses of 6,000 consumers and 54,000 brand evaluations across 15 industries in the United States, Mexico, and United Arab Emirates. MBLM's study is an annual report that looks solely at the emotional bond consumers have with companies, and brand intimacy, as the company calls it, leverages and strengthens the emotional bonds between a person and the brand, which could ultimately lead to strong sales and brand loyalty. In fact, MBLM said in a statement last year when it released its 2017 findings that the most intimately connected brands generate billions more in revenue and profits compared to those that have less of an intimate connection with consumers. This was all for today. Thank you for staying with us. I'm Elliot Bullman. Remember to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+, and log on to MexicoNewsNetwork.com for more information on Mexico and the world. Until next time.